The palace is quiet tonight, too quiet, some insiders say. If you wander across the forecourt after dusk, you can almost hear the clipped footsteps of staff echoing against stone, the hush of courtiers trading glances they won't put into writing, and one whispered question floating through every corridor: have the Prince and Princess of Wales drifted off script? On paper, William and Katherine are the monarchy's ace card, the couple who can bring crowds roaring to balconies and donations pouring into charities with a single joint appearance. Poll after poll crowns them the most admired royals alive. Yet behind the scenes, palace veterans concede a different mood is taking hold, a mounting frustration that Britain's future king and queen are rewriting the royal rulebook on their own, slower timeline. Why is the machine that once turned out 400 engagements a year now grinding forward in fits and starts? And what does that mean for a House of Windsor already stretched thin by scandals, illness, and an ocean-wide exile? But what came next surprised everyone monitoring court gossip. Staff began referring only half-jokingly to Katherine as a part-time princess, even before her cancer battle knocked her completely off the public roster in early 2024. During that fragile spring, William vanished from the diary too, guarding her recovery and shepherding George, Charlotte, and Louis through a season of hushed explanations and backdoor school runs. Compassion ruled the rota then. No one counted the missed plaque unveilings. It felt human, relatable, even heroic, until William suddenly re-emerged with a scarf in German national colours at the Euro semi-finals, then popped up in South Africa to hand out Earthshot prizes beneath Safari Lodge lanterns. That double sighting lit a small fire under veteran aides. One courtier, quoted anonymously, sighed that the prince seems unstoppably available for football and climate summits, selectively elusive for bread-and-butter ribbon cuttings. Another joked you can track his attendance by whether the event serves artisan coffee or lukewarm tea urns. The quips mask real concern. In a post-Elizabeth era, each royal absence lands like a loud echo, and by late autumn the echo had reached the king's private office. And that's when things started to change. Sources say Charles dispatched a discreet yet unmistakable summons in December, a reminder that global goodwill flows from the crown outward, not the other way around. The gesture carried weight. Weeks later, William stood beneath St. Peter's Dome representing the Windsors at Pope Francis I's funeral, a duty he hadn't initially embraced. Some read acceptance as filial obedience, others muttered it required paternal insistence. Either way, one message broke through: the monarch expects his heir to be visible, and soon. Meanwhile, Katherine tiptoed back into the spotlight. At 43, she's still undergoing preventive evaluations, yet she announced a slow-motion return to patronage's Youth Mental Health next month, Early Years Summit in September, while insisting motherhood remains non-negotiable. Friends say she demands at least 2 schoolgate pickups per week. Staff recalibrate schedules around piano practice and prep school sports day. Admirers applaud the balance. Critics note it slashes her annual engagement tally to numbers Windsor courtiers once clocked before Easter. Enter Camilla Tominey of The Telegraph, a journalist who keeps pulse rate on palace tension as closely as street traders check the pound. Her latest dispatch warns growing pressure is building for William and Kate to raise their public output, hinting that aides worry the couple's emphasis on nuclear family time strains the wider firm, already thinned by Prince Andrew's exile and the Sussexes' self-imposed Californian quarantine. The machine needs horsepower, one official confided, and right now, he implied, the Waleses are idling in first gear. Which brings us to the other prince whose name still rattles reception desks, Harry. 4 years and 5,000 miles separate the brothers, yet space has not cooled the tabloids' appetite for reunion rumors. Insiders, though, spot no thaw on the horizon. William's anger, white-hot after Spare dropped palace secrets into American talk shows, has cooled, friends say, from bonfire to banked embers. But cooled is not forgiven. Rebuilding that bridge ranks several pages beneath immediate family, homeland projects, and climate diplomacy on his current priority list. Translation: don't hold your breath for a balcony photo op. The prevailing attitude, Camilla reports, is simple: let sleeping dogs lie. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Even while aides mutter about workload, William is quietly escalating his Green Crusade, an agenda the king himself pioneered decades earlier. Monaco's Grimaldi Forum glittered last week as the prince strode on stage after an audience with President Macron. This wasn't idle chat about recycling. It was a blue economy and finance forum packed with CEOs who control entire shipping lanes. William told them the ocean's bounty is bleaching, boiling, and vanishing. We all stand to be impacted, he warned. We are all responsible for change, both negative and positive. The hall fell silent, pens scratched boxes marked commitment. Cameras snapped as he pleaded for leaders to think big and treat coral reefs as the lungs of tomorrow. So, on one hand, a princely speech that could steer billions toward marine parks. On the other, whispers that the same prince skips run-of-the-mill hospital visits. Which William defines the monarchy's future? The visionary building a global climate alliance, or the heir who must still cut ribbons at regional leisure centers because national morale finds comfort in routine? Palace strategists argue it's both roles, an impossible dual rhythm Charles himself mastered in the 70s, 80s, and beyond. Yet the late Queen balanced duty and cause by doing everything, everywhere, all year. Her grandson seems keen to curate. And that raises the stakes. Britain's calendar heaves with patronages waiting for a handshake, military parades, agricultural shows, university chancellorships, investitures piled high because Charles's health crisis already trimmed his timetable. Each unfilled slot invites parliamentary grumblings about Commonwealth relevance and Republican polls ticking north. Insiders fear that if William and Katherine don't accelerate soon, the void could shape public mood faster than a decade's worth of glossy documentaries. But what comes next may force their hand. The King's doctors have reportedly blocked overseas travel for extended stretches this winter, a quiet admission that chemotherapy flares can't be scheduled around state dinners. If Charles retreats from the front line even briefly, the firm's center of gravity tips to William and Katherine, ready or not. Staff prepare contingency lists, stepping in at state banquets, opening parliament, greeting heads of state in languages they haven't had time to perfect. One aide, half joking, feeds the couple's current diary into AI software to simulate a 50% workload spike. The printout supposedly stretched 4 feet, including events in Kirkwall, Kigali, and Canberra. The message: the gap is coming, brace. Yet never underestimate Team Wales's capacity for surprise. While aides counted engagements, Katherine filed trademark paperwork for a mental health platform aimed at 8 to 13-year-olds, digital guidance the palace hopes will reach more screens than any formal tour. And William's Earthshot Prize gears up for a live broadcast from Cape Town next spring, promising to beam climate invention into 500 million households. These are not ribbon cuttings, they're new model monarchy plays, scaled for a generation that measures relevance in TikTok views. So, where does that leave us? A palace staff caught between two metrics, the spreadsheet tally of classic engagements and the viral reach of star power advocacy. A king determined to uphold tradition while quietly fighting a personal health war. A future queen juggling chemotherapy aftercare, common entrance exams, and the world's harshest telephoto lenses. And a California prince writing memoir sequel notes, unwittingly fueling every British headline that includes his brother's name. Which storyline keeps you up at midnight head-scrolling? The suspense of whether William and Kate will throttle engagement numbers to pre-pandemic highs, or the chess match over how many times Harry's name can appear in royal briefings without triggering fresh ruptures. Drop your view in the comments. Did you cheer William's Monaco plea for a blue planet, or did you wince when you read aides still call Katherine part-time? Do you see a couple freeing the monarchy from old shackles, or edging perilously close to dereliction of duty? Tap that like button if this rundown gave you something new to chew on. Hit subscribe and ring the bell, because we're tracking 3 parallel plots: Charles's next health bulletin, Katherine's first full-scale return engagement, and whether the Wales household calendar suddenly explodes with back-to-back ribbon snips and plaque unveilings. In royal Britain, the silence between events is often louder than the fanfare itself, and right now the hush around William and Kate is beginning to roar. Stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, in the House of Windsor, what looks like a lull can turn overnight into the year's biggest headline. We'll be here when it does.